Hi, this is Stu from Mobile Geeks. Now, a few weeks ago, we were fortunate enough to be in Shenzhen, China, doing a tour of a few different vendors and markets, and you name it, we had a great time. And we were lucky enough to pick up a smartphone product from a company called No.1. This is the No.1 S7 smartphone, which is a 5-inch device, and it's actually a clone of the Galaxy S5 from Samsung. Let's take a quick look at these two and compare the hardware and the software and see just how far away the clone is from Samsung's new flagship. So here we have our flagship Samsung Galaxy S5, and here we have a clone of said same device this is the N1 S7. So as you can see already, the two swipe screens here are pretty much identical. We've got the same animation, the same colors, and there are differences, lots of differences. But before we go into that, we'll take a look at the hardware. You know, how good is our clone depends a lot on raw hardware. So you can see the devices are pretty much identically sized. They're exactly the same dimensions. They have buttons in the same places. You can see here we have our USB 3. On our clone we don't have USB 3, we just have USB 2, so there's no USB logo, but perhaps that's what it is. We can look at that in more detail in a second. You can see the power switches are in the same places. Here we have audio switches, also in the same place. The cameras, if we look on the back of the two devices, interestingly, No.1 have implemented Samsung's kind of controversial faux leather finish here on the back. Obviously, we have different logos. I mean, it's only so far you can go with your cloning, but we have the same sensor array, the flash and the camera in the same positions, even the speaker is in the same position. I would say in terms of actual feel, you know, you've got to give credit to Samsung. It does feel more professional than the No.1, which, yeah, they're both plasticky, but this just feels a little more professional. If we look, let's look at this USB port first of all, just for a second. You can see that on the S5, which is waterproof IP67, you can see the USB 3 port here is pretty well made. It's not going to fall off in a hurry, and it has waterproofing right there, and it clicks very nicely. If we try the same on our No.1, the clone, you can see first of all, it's a little clumsier to open. There's no waterproofing here. It doesn't really feel that strong. It still works in the same way, clicks into place. But yeah, I have to say, I have very little faith in this guy being anything like as water resistant or as dust resistant as our Samsung Galaxy S5. So we mentioned this USB flap right here, which obviously isn't waterproof, and Samsung are doing a much better job. But if we just look at the back, let's see, how does the back come off? It comes off in exactly the same way as the original Samsung S5. Just pull this off, just pops off. Just lay that right here, and let's do the same on the S5. Pulls off in a very similar manner. And you can see right here you have this waterproofing rubber seal on the inside, which, although there is a trace, there is an outline here, it's obviously been copied identically, possibly from the same factory, who knows, but the waterproofing is not there. We have the two batteries look the same. We've got a single SIM slot, and it looks like a full-size SIM. Or is that a micro SIM? Yeah. Let's have a quick look, first of all, at the display. So here we're getting a 5.1 on the S5, as we all know and love, this fantastic HD 1080p screen. But over here on the No.1, we're not getting quite the same quality. This is a 960 by 540, and it actually comes in at exactly 5 inches as opposed to the 5.1. This is the same size, I guess, as the Samsung Galaxy S4. So it's a QHD 960 540. It's IPS screen. It's nothing quite as fancy as the AMOLED here on the S5. And you can see the S5 kind of looks brighter. I'll just prove to you. Brightness settings are on pretty similar settings here. So, yep. I think the screens, yeah, you're definitely getting something more of a high quality screen on the Samsung, as you would expect. Internals, you're looking at a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 here on the S5. But on the No.1, you're getting a cheaper MediaTek MT6582, which is also, they're both quad core. Interestingly, The Samsung is 2.5 gigahertz clock. This is a 1.3 gigahertz clock. And they have different GPUs. This is Adreno 330, as we know, which is one of the best GPUs you can have, which would be gaming. Whereas on the MediaTek, you're getting a Mali 400MP, which is, it can still do a job, but it won't have the raw performance. Our performance data backs this up. So you're getting much more powerful. In fact, you're getting the most powerful platform available today with the S5. And you're getting something which is probably somewhere in the region of half that raw performance, but something which will perform admirably. As you can see, the OS is under no strain whatsoever. You're getting 2 gigabytes of RAM with the Galaxy S5, as we know, but you're only getting 1 gig on the No.1 S7. This is also DDR3, this is DDR2, so there are differences in overall performance and memory bandwidth there also. But if we talk about the CPU, or if you like, the system on chip which drives this guy, we've actually discovered something quite interesting. If we, for example, open up CPU-Z, it tells us that this is an Samsung Exynos 4412. Now we know it's not that, we know it's a MediaTek MT6582. But something's gone wrong there. However they've tried to game the system or fake it, it just isn't working. And you can see here there's GPU vendors from Qualcomm. Well, last I looked, the Exynos 4412 actually used a Mali GPU, the same as MediaTek. So again, something's not quite right. But if we skip ahead, let's see if we can find, we're looking for Quadrant. Yeah, if we go into Quadrant here, we can see here in our system information, it's telling us that it's using a Qualcomm MSM8974, which of course would be the one that the S5 uses, which would be the correct fake hardware reading. Now let's compare the two cameras. Let's just open the camera app on both of these guys. Okay, so first of all, you can see they're fairly similar at the bottom here. Their diagrams are a little bit different, but we have a camera icon, video icon, camera icon, video icon, and then modes. If we click into, actually the mode is already open here. If we click into mode on the clone, we can see we have landscape, HDR, we have a beautification options, we have panorama, we can do 3D shots, we can do scene, and then we have a smiley activated or smile activation. And if we look at mode here, we can see we have way much more, and it's much more kind of a much more professional presentation. Beauty face, again, panorama. So some of the features are the same, but it's presented in a much more professional way. And literally, the S5 here is going to give you every option you could possibly imagine. If we go into settings, we can see we have a lot of things we can play with. If we go into settings here, you can see we have a lot less. Okay, let's go out of here and actually have a look in our gallery so we can have some comparison photos. Interestingly, this this is using the beautification app. Nicole took this image. It's really quite terrifying. Oh my god. So here we have another version of that, beautification, regular photo, then the beautiful photo. Regular, beautiful, regular, beautiful. So it's taken away some of Nicole's wrinkles and freckles. Not that she has many. Okay, let's quickly move along to some photos that we shot recently. Okay, here we are with our scene. Now this shot was taken without using the LED flash. If we compare that to the equivalent on the Samsung, this is the same, basically the same image. But again, you can see that the Samsung has done a lot better with the light. But then, come on, let's be fair, guys. This is the best sensor on the market, or one of the best sensors on the market. Certainly one of the best ever in a smartphone. This is not bad. This is decent. I think the clone's doing a decent job here. If we can see here when we turn the flash on, it actually enhances things a little bit. That's because the flash isn't too strong. If we look here, we can see that the S5 has a very strong flash, which really illuminated the front, but not much else. And then if we check out the HDR shot, here, well, we can see that it's not maybe quite as crisp as we would have liked, but it's still, I would still argue that this is pretty solid stuff. But let's let the Galaxy S5 steal the show. Look at that. That's pretty stunning. But again, let's look at this in context. Here we have a much smaller resolution, 960 by 540 pixel screen resolution, whereas over here we have full HD 1080p. So that's also something you must take into consideration. Battery life, well, we have seen very good battery life, of course, on the S5 with its 2,800 milliamp hour battery, but on the No.1, although it's advertised as having the same 2,800 milliamp hour battery, it actually feels something considerably less than that. How much of that is to do with the tuning between the actual processor and the OS, we're not entirely sure, but I think it's fair to say that maybe on here we're getting something less than advertised. Okay, let's look at the software. Of course, if we're going to clone our device, software is one of the most important parts. And you can see straight away that these two home screens are very, very similar. You've got your weather app here, you've got a Google search bar, which is a little different, but then we've got a very similar layout below that. We've even got phone, people contacts, that's a little bit different, messaging, internet and browser and apps. And you can see that in terms of the icons here, the internet icon is a lot flatter, it's less rounded, less 3D. This is the new styling which Samsung are going for. This is Android 4.3, this is Android 4.4, so maybe that goes some way to explaining the kind of more standard appeal that we're used to in the last few years here on the N1 or No.1, and this new kind of slick looking OS which Samsung has implemented here with their new TouchWiz. If we click apps, we can go into apps, so excuse me, let's look at apps. And you can see that navigation is the layout is similar. We click here, we can go to downloaded apps. Let's go back. Here we have different options. Samsung have added an extra menu here. Let's go back and look at. Oh, here we also have widgets. Whereas on the S5, if you want to access widgets, you're going to have to hold it down and look at widgets. Let's look elsewhere here. We can see that in terms of the phone app, again, I mean, it's pretty much identical, right? Let's go back, look at people or contacts, very, very similar. Hello, Nicole. Messaging, very, very similar. So, I mean, most of the standard Android OS remains on the Samsung S5. I guess the differences are where we see KitKat and where we see the implementation that Samsung's come up with in the TouchWiz UI. Oh yeah, we got our drop-down menu at the top here, which here we have pretty much what we're used to seeing on Samsung devices for the last few generations. Whereas over here we have a kind of newer implementation. If we touch in the corner, we can see the full. You can see the capacitive screen is not performing quite as well as it should. Come on. There you go. Maybe it's just my idiot fingers. But you can see here you've got a lot more options on the Samsung side of the street, and the design is consistent with the OS throughout. It's circular, whereas here we have again something which is much more standard. Okay, so here we are about to enjoy some gameplay with D-Day, and we're going to go ahead. Actually, I think I'll go ahead and I'll do the No.1 S7 first. So let's see, we're going to play the Utah level. Yep, that's the one. Utah, start. It's got a little bit of audio here. Might be tinny, but it's better with the audio, that's for sure. So load times, not too bad. So straight away we've hit one issue. This is not a multi-touch screen. I can fire if I let go, but if I try to navigate at the same time and I keep my left thumb down, oh, it seems to be working okay now. Okay, so it is in fact multi-touch. That's good. Here we go. So the gameplay is not bad. It's reasonably smooth. I don't see any artifacting really. Let's see how long it takes for it to load. Actually, I would say that's pretty similar. Again, let's crank up some volume. The audio quality is noticeably better again, as we noticed earlier. Okay. Oh, this is in fact a different level. Oh, the smoothness of the gameplay is significant. Let's see. Do I have any problems with multi-touch? Now, in terms of how the game looks, I would have to say Yeah, the Samsung looks better, not just because of the screen, but everything. The colors look more vibrant. If we compare side by side, I'd say the detail's better on the Samsung Galaxy S5. Let's just check out some performance here. Let's compare our number 1 with our S5 and try the Antutu benchmark. So we'll open up this benchmark. Okay. So previously we've had a score of 35,000 on this guy, but we'll run both tests again. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, so we compare these two scores. We can see that 36,000 compared to 17,000. This is more than twice as powerful in raw computational terms than its clone here using MediaTek. So what's the big takeaway from this? What can we tell you about the clone and how close it is? As you've seen, there's quite a few differences. Some of it is more aesthetic, or if you like, it's kind of, yeah, it's fake for the sake of being fake. But overall, I think what you're getting with the S7 is you're getting probably 2/3 of the functionality of the S5. But the big thing for me is that you're getting it at less than 1/3 of the price. The Samsung Galaxy S5 retails for around $600 or $650 depending on configuration, whereas this guy can be had for $180. For all intents and purposes, it feels very similar, it looks very similar, and you're gonna have, I would say, a very good smartphone experience. You can decide for yourself, but I'm impressed.